بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. Today we're going to cover a second part of Surah Alaq, which is verse 6 to verse 19. And this is a very interesting situation. So let's get right into it. These ayat were revealed to Prophet Muhammad after a few years of the first one. And in the course of time, Allah Ta'ala had taught Prophet Muhammad how to pray, how to worship, the right way of worshiping. And in context of Prophet Muhammad's actions of praying in and around Kaaba, what transpired between him and Abu-Jahl and other Quraysh folks was the reason that these ayat were sent down to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it was fitting that Allah Ta'ala started with this one act that makes every Muslim a believer. That is the act of praying, a very fundamental pillar of Islam. So let's start with ayat number 6. Kalla innal insana layatqa. Most certainly one exceeds all bounds. We surely forget our limits. We forget our start, we forget our journey, we forget the limited capacity we have as mere mortals. All knowledge, know-how the humans have received, as previously mentioned, was received from Allah, was by virtue of what Allah wanted us to know. So when humans, they start accumulating, they start prospering, there comes a point, certain human beings, they do transgress. And that is what we are witnessing here in this ayat. Most certainly one exceeds all bounds. Now, so many things in this section of Surah Alaq pertains to one specific individual, but how I read it also, we can also apply it to every other individual in the world, and I'll explain as we move along. So, man transgresses. As we accumulate, we become so conceited, so arrogant, and prideful that we do not realize that. And going back to what we know is by virtue of what Allah has allowed us to know, as mentioned in Ayat al-Kursi, وَلَا يُؤْتُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ. If Allah did not want, they would not be blessed with any of the knowledge or understanding of anything. So considering the final revelation, when the Prophet ﷺ, he was shivering from the experience and what Allah had sent down to him. During the first batch only, a few ayat were revealed. So that was just a sample or the starting point. And Allah kept it very light in terms of just introducing what Prophet Muhammad had been going through, what Prophet Muhammad had been contemplating over the few years. So that was the very beginning of where this surah is headed. Once the thing, they are self-sufficient. And when humans become so self-centered, so self-sufficient, and conceited that they think of themselves as above everyone and forget that their souls pledge allegiance to Allah Ta'ala. But their actions now contradict all that. So they have forgotten their beginnings, they've forgotten the journey they've had, and now they believe, they think that they're above all, that they can just do whatever comes to their mind. But surely to your Lord is the return of all. Inna ila rabbika ar-ruja. Ruju karna, to consult, and in this case, it means the return. Of course, everyone will return to Allah. As simple as it is, everyone is going to die. Everyone is going to perish. Human beings are so forgetful of our own insignificant nature that even a jellyfish sting or a banana peel fall can plunge us to our deathbed, but we act as if we live forever. We act as if everything that we accumulate over the course of years, every title that we accumulate over the course of years, all those things are going to go with us when we're going to depart this world, not realizing that we came to this world without anything on our bodies, and we're going to leave this world without anything on our bodies, just two white sheets. So we really forget that fact, and the fact that it can happen anytime. We have no idea when the clock will stop on us. We cannot say with any probability, any certainty, the chances of it happening, because that has been written. And that's going to happen when Allah wills. But it absolutely will happen. But surely to your Lord is the return of all. Every single soul is going to return to Allah. Have you seen the man who prevents? Now here, there could be two meanings. One, a very specific meaning, and then a very general meaning. So let's start with a very specific contextual meaning. These ayat were brought down when Prophet Muhammad had started praying in and around Kaaba, the way Allah Ta'ala, by virtue of Jibreel salam, had taught him to pray the right way, sajda, prostration. So that is what Prophet Muhammad had started doing. And the reference here, have you seen the man who prevents, is towards Abu-Jahl. Abu-Jahl, who was also called Abul Hakam, meaning father of wisdom, because he was one of those individuals in Makkah at that point in time who was very respected as an elder, even though he had started attending the sessions and assemblies when he was in his 30s, the sessions where you had to be at least in your 40s to be able to attend those and give advice. So he was a sought after leader within Quraysh. And Abu Hakam was father of wisdom, was his title. So this is in reference to what Abu-Jahl was doing, stopping Prophet Muhammad from praying the way Allah had taught him to pray, because that is after La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, namaz, salah, prayer, that is the fundamental pillar of Islam. So Allah Ta'ala started with that act. So due to those actions and his enmity with Prophet Muhammad because he was now bringing a new religion into the fold of Makkah, contrary to what everyone was doing, the idol worshipping. So that is why Abu-Jahl became enemy of Islam and Prophet Muhammad Prophet Muhammad he mentioned that wisdom only rests, infinite wisdom only rests with Allah Ta'ala, and no human being, let alone Abu-Jahl, can be called father of wisdom. So that is where Prophet Muhammad gave the title Abu-Jahl, father of ignorance, to Abu-Jahl. So he was the individual about whom this ayat is. Have you seen the man who prevents? Now, another aspect of this is, first aspect as it relates to the context is Abu-Jahl. Second, as I receive it, is anyone, any individual who prevents or who stops or tries to stop another Muslim from praying or from fulfilling his or her obligation, religious obligation to Allah Ta'ala in context of 5 fard prayers. This also applies to that individual. That's what I interpret from this. Yes, there is a contextual interpretation, but I would also apply it to any individual. If I come over and azan, I hear azan, and I'm over at your house and I hear azan, and you just get up and you want to go pray, and if I just say, oh, you know what, just wait for 5 minutes, let's just go pray in 5 minutes, I'm no different than Abu-Jahl. So yes, in general, this, we should actually take it as if this was about us if and when we act like Abu-Jahl. So that is something I really wanted to hone in on. One, a contextual understanding of this ayat, and the other one, a more general application of this ayat. Have you seen the man who prevents? And the next ayat is the servant of ours from praying. By that, Allah Ta'ala means Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, a servant of ours, or a man of ours, a banda of ours, indication is towards Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, there is on different occasions, Allah Ta'ala has indicated towards Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you would go to Surah Bani Israel, the mention of when we took our servant in one night from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa. Then also there's mention starting of Surah Kahf. All praise to Allah who brought down this book to our servant. And then also Surah Jinn, ayat number 19. और जब अल्लाह का बंदा उसको पुकारने के लिए खड़ा हुआ तो लोग उस पर टूट पड़ने के लिए तैयार हो गए. Which means that when our servant, or in this context if we say, when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ started praying, everyone started getting bad at him. So there is clear reference to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ as mentioned in the Quran, and coming back to this ayat, a servant of ours from praying. So Abu-Jahl, what he's doing is he is trying to prevent Rasul Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from praying. And this also tells us, though Allah did not mention anywhere in the Quran the method of praying, but stands true that Allah Ta'ala taught Muhammad the way to pray once he was bestowed with the wahi. A very strong indication that Allah Ta'ala conveyed things other than the Quran to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ via Jibreel alayhi salam. And that teaching and that learning happened over the course of time. So imagine Allah Ta'ala sending something with Jibreel alayhi salam, and Jibreel alayhi salam bringing that message, that teaching, that lesson, or those ayat to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then teaching Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam what Allah has communicated. So that handoff, if you just think about that handoff, Allah to Jibreel alayhi salam, Jibreel alayhi salam to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So just a very fascinating trinity that we have. So coming back to a servant of ours from praying. What if the servant is rightly guided or encourages righteousness? Now here, again, the context and mention is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sadiq and Amin, truthful and keeper of things, had a reputation before he was bestowed revelation, and he had credibility. So the mention is that person again. What if the servant is rightly guided or encourages righteousness, telling others how to go about worshiping Allah, telling others how to go about doing the right things, being fearful of Allah, stopping from any wrongdoings, or trying to steer everyone away from any wrongdoings? So it is the same individual that we are talking about. Furthermore, not only does good deeds himself, but also encourages others to do good deeds. What if the servant is rightly guided or encourages righteousness? Now coming back to Abu-Jahl in the following ayat. What if that man persists in denial and turns away? Now denial and turning away, the difference in not knowing something and making a mistake and knowing something but not wanting to conform to the truth or right path. That is what differentiates between the good from the bad, the moments from the kuffars. And let's continue on Abu-Jahl's case. In this case, he's still in denial. He wants to hurt Prophet Muhammad ﷺ due to him challenging the old ways of worship, that of Lat and Uzza, the idols. Abu-Jahl reportedly stated that if Muhammad continued with his new way of praying, then Abu-Jahl will stomp his throat with his foot and swore upon Lat and Uzza. So the man is still in denial, and the man turns away from the word of Allah. The man turns away from the teachings of Allah that this man of Allah, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, is bringing by virtue of his actions, a fundamental action of praying in the Kaaba, around Kaaba. So the man continues to be in denial and turns away. Now this is the kicker. Alam ya'lam bi anna Allaha yara. Does he not know that Allah sees all? This is a very interesting ayat. This is ayat number 14. Does he not know that Allah sees all? Contextual plus general. Let's talk about that. So first meaning of this ayat, as I said, contextual, of what's happening between Abu-Jahl and Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in relation to Prophet Muhammad praying in Kaaba and Abu-Jahl wanting to smash his head and stomping his throat. Allah has been very clear in mentioning that he will not be able to do that, for Allah is watching. So a clear and present understanding of what's happening around Muhammad after Allah taught him to pray, and when he executes that salah, the salah method that he's been taught, and invites the wrath of Abu-Jahl, Allah in very clear words saying that Allah sees all. So Abu-Jahl, you are warned. And this is to comfort Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that do not fear my human being or my servant, for I am watching. So anyone who thinks of doing any harm to you, I am watching. And they should know that Allah is watching, so mess around with my prophet at your own risk. Now another side of this, does he not know that Allah sees all, as I want to read into this? Allah telling every Muslim being and everyone who reads the Quran that Allah sees all. Sees the good, the bad, the ugly, the kind, the deceitful, the arrogant, foul-mouthed, double-faced, jealous, haters, loving, sincere people. In short, there's nothing in the universe that is hidden from Allah. Consider this next time we are sad, angry, frustrated, scared, anxious, that Allah sees all. And you know what? Take a deep breath and have faith in your faith, and have faith in your faith in Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, that whatever is happening by the will of Allah. So many times you see these small things happening and you're like, oh my God, what in the world is happening? What the hell is going on? But then again, you just take a deep breath and you're like, you know what? There's got to be a reason for this happening. So you have to have that faith. Allah sees all. That's the flip side of it. That is the non-Abu-Jahl side of it, a more generic side of it. There is not one drop of water that sheds without Allah's knowledge or permission. So does he not know that Allah sees all? So we're still in the first surah. And Allah has revealed so many things to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So now this is where it gets really interesting as we get into the last few ayat of Surah Alaq. But no, if he does not desist, we will certainly drag him by the forelock. Now we're back to Abu-Jahl again. A very specific mention towards Abu-Jahl where he would threaten Prophet Muhammad ﷺ with harm when he would see him praying in the Kaaba. And Allah mentions that if Abu-Jahl, does not stop and goes along with his threats, then we will drag him from his forelock like a ponytail or a pigtail. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ rebutted Abu-Jahl on different occasions when he tried to intimidate Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. or try to bring harm by saying, on whose reliance do you scare me? And when Prophet Muhammad would just rebut Abu-Jahl, this is what he would say: on whose reliance, on whose support, who do you have to back you up that you are trying to scare me? Do you not know how many people I have who support me in this valley? Referring to Makkah at that point, because he was a leader in Makkah of the Kuffars. So Allah is saying, telling Prophet Muhammad and if he does not stop, we will drag him from his forelock. And that's the treatment that was being promised by Allah to Prophet Muhammad that this is what's going to happen. And then Allah Ta'ala goes on to qualify that forelock, a lying, sinful forelock, referring with a very strong adjective, a lying, sinful forelock. Abu-Jahl, one of the most respected men in Makkah of those times, at the time of when Muhammad was bestowed with the revelation and started preaching and started praying. But because he chose to ignore and not believe in the word of Allah that was sent down to Prophet Muhammad this was the adjective that Allah chose, a lying, sinful forelock, in context of what his intentions were towards harming Prophet Muhammad So we want to be very careful. This also, again, another application of this. We have to be very careful about not doing the same things that Abu-Jahl tried to do, intentionally or unintentionally. So as soon as the azan goes off, yes, the temptation is, hey, let me just finish this movie, let me just finish this over, let me just finish this innings of baseball, let me just finish this song or this podcast or whatever you're doing, or this favorite meal. I'm not a scholar, so I cannot rule on any such things, but the point I'm trying to make here is, based on everything that I've read, is when azan happens, Allah is calling us, we gotta go. And if this is something personal, if I am not going to go pray, I absolutely should not tell you, hey Umar, you know what, don't go pray, just wait for 2 minutes. No, because then there's no difference between me and Abu-Jahl, because I am also trying to stop you from praying. So I am no less than a lying, sinful forelock. And then next ayat, as I said, it is getting very interesting. So let him call his associates. So remember, when Abu-Jahl mentioned to Prophet Muhammad that on whose support, on whose backing are you trying to scare me? Do you not know how many people I have in this valley who support me? So Allah Ta'ala is like, you know what? Allah just called his bluff. Let him call his associates. Let him call his thugs. Let him call his gang of Thanos and everyone he can muster. Allah is comforting Prophet Muhammad by telling him, don't worry, no sweat, I got your back. Let him call whoever in the world he wants to call. He wants to call his associates, let him call his associates. And what happens next ayat is, we will call the wardens of hell. Sanad'u zabaniyata. We will call the wardens of hell. So Allah's like, all right, Abu-Jahl, call whoever you want to. Well, we've got better. We'll do one better. We're going to call wardens of hell on you. So Zabaniya comes from Zaban. And it means, based on what I've read in tafsir, and one of the tafsirs I'm using is Maulana Maudidi's tafsir, a very detailed account of Quran Pak. So if you do get a chance, you may want to reference that. And this I'm taking out of there, meaning to push. And this refers to those security guards or guards in the palaces of kings, if someone would just run in and come and run towards the king, they would just push those people away. So, zabaniya, we will call the wardens of hell, referring to malaika, who will sort Abu-Jahl and will push them, punish them. Now here, one hadith, Ibn Abbas narrated from Abu Huraira, that Abu-Jahl asked Abu-Jahl asked people, if Muhammad covers his face by dust when he goes down and does sajda or prostrates. And when his people said yes, Abu-Jahl said that next time, swearing upon his idols, next time he does that, Abu-Jahl will stomp his neck. So when next time Prophet Muhammad ﷺ goes to prostrate, Abu-Jahl steps towards Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and towards his head. But at that point, he had to retreat. He had to step back. And when his people asked him what happened, he responded that between me, I felt a ditch, fire, and wings. So we will call the wardens of hell. Allah sure wasn't bluffing there. So Allah showed Abu-Jahl a sneak preview of what could be. And then we bring it home with, it would make so much sense in Arabic. I just don't want to read it wrong. So I'm just going to stick to English here. Again, no. Referring to Abu-Jahl, the Prophet, do not listen to him. Again, no. Never obey him, O Prophet. Rather, continue to prostrate and draw near to Allah. Clearly, Allah is telling Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to not listen to Abu-Jahl or be afraid of him, since Allah and the wardens of hell, malaika, will take care of him, and anyone Abu-Jahl brings or anyone brings to harm Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and anyone doing mission of Allah. To continue praying. Abu Huraira, once again, in Muslim narrates that man is closest to Allah when he or she is in a state of prostration, in state of sajda. This is the highest form of submission to Allah, prostration, bowing in front of Allah Almighty. It also signifies that anyone who tries to stop anyone from prayer should realize what they have in store for them, as mentioned in these ayat that we just went over. Another Muslim hadith narrated by Abu Huraira is that whenever Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to pray these ayat, he would prostrate. And this brings me to a very significant marker in the surah. And I had never realized it because since I started reading Quran, we would start from the very first surah. And then we would go Surah Baqarah, Al Imran, and all the way through. Only during this venture that I've realized this first surah that was brought down to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, first complete surah. At the very end of it, there is first prostration, first sajda. At the very end of it. So Allah is reinforcing the fact that again, no, never obey him, O Prophet. Rather, continue to prostrate and draw near to Allah. So when you do prostrate, that is the point where a human being, as narrated in that hadith that I just mentioned, we are closest to Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Because we are leaving our ego, leaving our honor, leaving our pride, leaving our titles, checking those out at the door before we step foot onto the prayer mat or the prayer area, and we are submitting to will of Allah. So a very significant marker. So this was Surah Alaq. First half was the first 5 ayat that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala sent down courtesy Jibreel alayhi salam, where it was an introduction that, "O Prophet, read, I am the one who taught humans everything because you did not know anything. Also, I taught you by the pen." And then second part is in relation to when Prophet Muhammad wasallam started praying in and around Kaaba, and what transpired between Abu-Jahl and Prophet Muhammad wasallam, and promise of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. And this is just the first surah, and I can already see the promise of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. I'm just so excited as to what I'm going to unfold as I continue on this journey. It is just fascinating when you start reading through Quran, and when you start reading through translations and tafsirs and different ahadiths, what you find, different applications that you find. So I hope this was another session where you at least learned one thing. If you did, please do say a prayer for me, my parents, my family, every single person who has contributed towards me learning things and executing things. And if there was something that you believe was I made a mistake, please do say a prayer for me for my improvement. And the fact that Allah Ta'ala gives us the strength, the wisdom, the foresight, the perseverance to continue doing good things on His path for the sake of Allah's forgiveness. Till next time, take very good care of yourselves. Allah Hafiz.